Every fighter that's under contract, if you want to tell the media what you're paid, that's up to you.
It's not uncommon to hear stories of fighters that come from modest upbringings. For some, it's growing up in an environment where their families struggle to afford basic necessities, and for others, falling into the wrong crowd and finding themselves at odds with the law. These hardships often serve as motivation and forge a unique type of discipline that these fighters use to propel themselves as they build their careers. And while that's the case for some, there are actually a number of UFC fighters who come from wealthy families. With all of their basic needs taken care of, they had to find other motivations for climbing the ladder of competitive mixed martial arts. In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 of the most successful fighters who grew up with a significant financial advantage. Welcome to MMA Money. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Let's jump right in. Kicking us off at number 5, we have former middleweight title challenger Chael Sonnen. While it's hard to separate fact from fiction when it comes to Sonnen's background, most casual fans are familiar with his mean streets of Westland, Oregon speech prior to UFC 148, where he dropped this famous line.
You know, you look at me, there was years where my father didn't even make $100,000. Or barely made $100,000. And sure, we had a maid, but she only came twice a week. What do you think happened the other 5 days? You think those dishes washed themselves? You think those clothes got themselves in the hamper?
While clearly joking, he hints that he had a comfortable life growing up, which is backed up by the fact that West Lynn has a median annual household income of $124,000, nearly double the US median. Sonnen began wrestling at the age of 9 and attended the University of Oregon, where he earned All-American honors. He had already competed in and won his first fight by graduation, and began competing consistently until he made his UFC debut in 2005. At number 4 on the list, we have none other than the recently retired Donald Cowboy Cerrone. No doubt Cowboy has made millions during his UFC career, however he was most likely living comfortably well before then. At 16, Cerrone was sent to live with his grandparents after getting into street fights during his teenage years and even spending several nights in jail. From all indications, his grandparents were very well off, and by Cerrone's own admission on the JRE podcast in 2015, he was born with a giant silver spoon in his mouth and pampered. While that statement may have been a bit tongue-in-cheek, he recounted the time his grandfather drove down to New Mexico with cash in hand to purchase the land for his BMF ranch, a sprawling 40-acre property that now includes an MMA training facility, dirt bike track, shooting range, and much more. While he may certainly have experienced hardships growing up, his grandparents have been more than supportive emotionally and financially. Number 3, Israel Adesanya. Adesanya was born in Lagos, Nigeria, into what he described as a very affluent family. His father, an accountant, and his mother, a nurse, immigrated to New Zealand with their 5 children when Israel was 10 years old in order to provide them with more opportunity and a higher quality education. Adesanya started kickboxing at 18, and at 21, he moved to Auckland to begin training MMA at City Kickboxing under Eugene Berriman. His parents were not on board with his career choice at first, as he described in the Impulsive podcast.
And it was always like, as a Nigerian parent, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, or a disappointment. Those are like
Those are the 5.
Yeah, or either one. So imagine when I told my Nigerian parents, like, I want to be a fighter. You want to be a fighter? What do you mean? Like, what?
Who are you fighting?
Yeah, who are you fighting? What? Like, I was just, because no one from my side of the world had ever, like, really made headway in, especially, boxing a little bit, but in MMA, mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Despite this, his father would financially support him after he moved away, depositing money into his bank account, allowing him to focus on fighting. It ended up being a smart investment, as Adesanya has become one of the highest paid fighters in the UFC, making millions over the course of his career. Coming in at number 2 is BJ Penn. The former 2-division UFC champion was born into a prominent upper-middle-class family in Hilo, Hawaii. His mother a successful businesswoman and his father a real estate developer, BJ grew up in a wealthy part of town where he was first introduced to mixed martial arts through his neighbor and Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor, Tom Carlos. During his teenage years, BJ started getting involved in street fighting in the lower income areas of their neighborhood. His father, J.D. Penn, who had practiced karate and aikido as a young man, thought introducing his son to Carlos would teach him discipline and respect and allow him to focus his energy in a more productive way. After realizing his son had talent, he supported BJ's move to California, where he continued his training under Ralph Gracie. It was here that he decided to pursue a career in mixed martial arts and made his UFC debut in 2001. And finally, capping off the list at number 1 is the former UFC lightweight Sage Northcutt. Northcutt began training karate at age 4, and by 9 years old, he was competing around the world and had even secured his first sponsor, Labrada, who he still works with to this day. It was at this age that Sage became the youngest person ever to make the cover of Sport Karate magazine. Sage and his siblings had the support of their parents throughout their early MMA development and grew up in the affluent Cinco Ranch area of Katy, Texas. A little internet sleuthing will turn up several claims that suggest the Northcutt family comes from oil money, and while it's possible, I wasn't able to confidently verify it. The only hint that suggests this is accurate is that prior to dropping out of college at Texas A&M, Sage was pursuing a degree in petroleum engineering. Either way, with Cinco Ranch having a median annual household income of $152,000 and the Northcutts travel all over the world from the time Sage was very young, it's safe to say that lack of money did not prevent the Northcutts from many opportunities. As of 2023, Sage currently competes in one championship, but has not ruled out a future return to the octagon. These fighters show that wealth and privilege don't necessarily make one less capable of achieving greatness in mixed martial arts. Through their athleticism, hard work, and grit, they have, for lack of a better word, overcome their wealthy backgrounds to become some of the top fighters in the world. And that's all for this video. As always, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, and click the links on the screen to catch up on the most recent videos.